And he's like, no, it was fucking medals we got. Oh. I mean, he's great as well. You know?
He is.
But that's just the type of guy they go for, though, right? Like, you hear all these fucking knuckle-dragging wall punchers in his audience, like, oh, fucking right, Bomber.
The big house must stay open. That's the bottom line.
I mean, like, it was interesting at the time as well, right, to compare and contrast the whole thing, right, to when Celtic nearly died. So everything from the treatment we got from the media right down to how we responded. Like, there's guys in Ottawa here, and I'm sure you'll have similar stories to this, and it was in February, again, I mentioned Canada in February, when, like, representatives of Celtic during the share issue came over, and they, like, I know guys that spent the last pennies they had in their savings to go and buy shares. Like, we made it happen, and they drove up, like, two and a bit hours to Montreal in snow and fucking freeze and everything just to help. Like, it wasn't even a question.
Yeah.
Whereas those guys have stood by and did nothing, and there's, like, it's like Paul says about the establishment and everything. They've got such a fucking sense of entitlement that they wouldn't even dip their hand into their pocket to help their fucking club.
Well, they don't know. Like, they don't know what it's like to have to scrape and to scratch. They've had stuff handed to them, throughout. They don't know how to organize and how to fight, from an underdog position, to use that sort of term. I mean, you talk about Tommy and Glasgow. Tommy and Glasgow went off on a tear of like 2 weeks straight where he called every Rangers supporters club in North America, every single one, and told them, "Oh, we need we need this, buy the shares, sell." Yeah. The Cludgy, I can't. What are we gonna do? And none of them were gonna say. Yeah, none of them were said. Yeah, none of them said they were going to buy any shares. Invariably, you call the president of all the Rangers supporters clubs, and it's like, do you have any shares? You have to sell. And they're like, no, I don't. I didn't buy any shares. It's like, well, no wonder they're going bust. Nobody gives a shit.
Because that's like we forget so often, and the Scottish referendum showed that, right? Like we all kind of feel like we can't make a difference, but things like Celtic in '97 or just before. And the Scottish referendum, it shows you that, like, the power is still with the people. Like, all of us standing together is still better than one guy with a lot of money.
That's right. Absolutely. Amen to that, brother.
And like I say, people forget it. And like you said earlier on about apathy, people are so apathetic now. They'll just say, that's the way it is. And, Rangers fans say, no, we're still Rangers. Like, no, you're fucking not. And I mean, shame on them. Like, honestly, I said that to my Rangers pal friends. Like, I can't believe you stood by and did nothing.
Yeah.
In fact, do you know a dude, Alan Heron from the New York club? He's from East Kilbride or something in Scotland, but he's in the Jack Dempsey's bar.
Yeah.
I met him when I was down there. Rangers played Ottawa Fury when I was in Scotland, so I couldn't go. But that was the
glamour tie.
Yeah. So they played the new league below the MLS team in Ottawa.
Yeah.
And but the week before, Ottawa played the New York Cosmos, who all the New York boys cheer for. And I swear, like, I played a gig last night in this pub called the Celtic Cross, and somebody's finally been in and scraped it off. But every pub on Bank Street, these guys went in, and even they started on Parliament Hill and walked all the way down Bank Street to the stadium. It's about a half-hour walk, and put in every pub toilet stickers that said, "You stood by and watched your own Hun club die." And they've just, like, he tweeted it to me. It's on my Twitter somewhere. But they covered Ottawa in these stickers.
Oh, fantastic.
And it was just like, they're brilliant.
Fantastic.
Let's say somebody finally got the one in the cross, though.
Beautiful. I cannot wait. I mean, this alone, just sort of, this gives you a flavor for what the Fail is going to be like. It's just going to be a gathering of hundreds of Celtic supporters that are going to converge once again on Philadelphia, and we can share in our experiences past, and have just an amazing, brilliant experience there, and then with the first tie against Sevco, and then have that premiere. It's going to be absolutely massive. Like I said,
I can't wait.
Like I said,
is the premiere going to be like? Is it just in the pub kind of thing?
No,
or?
it's just in the pub. It's going to be closed down. Obviously tickets to the door, and and I mean they have a huge 200-inch projection screen that they show the games on. Straight away after that, they'll show the movie, and it's going to be absolutely massive. For more details, to find out the specifics about the Fela, you can find them on Twitter at Plowboys CSC. That's PLOU. I'm sorry. Yeah, OU. Yeah, PLOUGHBHOYS Yeah, it's hard to spell sometimes. And you can get the specifics. I'm sure they're going to have hotel arrangements, special rates sorted very shortly, as well as musical guests. We already booked one here live on the show. It's going to be Richard Parker, and it's going to be absolutely phenomenal. Richard, let's talk about Celtic. Let's talk about our club. We have Ronnie Deila coming in this season, and a little bit of a shaky start, I guess, depending on your perspective, your purview. I don't think that he had, even anywhere near, even close to the sort of support that a new manager needs coming in. With that being said, I think he's done a good job. I'm not quite ready to say he's doing and he's done great just yet. But over the past 3 to 4 games, you're starting to get a glimpse of his ideas of how the team is supposed to play. I think also that he's starting to find out who his strongest 11 are, what they can do, and how that can fit together into his system with the formations that he's putting out and with the tactics. What are your thoughts? I mean, is Ronnie Deila the real deal? Are we getting past the time when we're sort of suspicious, like, is this the next Mowbray? Yes or no? Is Ronnie Deila, is he taking this on and making it his own?
Well, I was going to mention Mowbray. You gave me a nice segue there, because one of the guys at the club always says that a manager with a philosophy on how a team should play can often be a bad thing, because you got to adapt, right? So his philosophy, a Norwegian club, I mean, he did good things there for a young manager, and
absolutely,
it's kind of like somebody coming into Aberdeen and winning the Scottish League or something like that.
Sure,
he did a bloody good job with him. On paper, he's a great appointment, I think. Like, young guy, new ideas. Even if it's philosophy-based, whatever. He's big on nutrition and video analysis and whatever. He's very 21st century. The performances have left, for the most part, a lot to be desired. I always said, have you heard of Subutio, like that old football game?
Yeah.
Where it's like you move the stick figures around kind of thing. Mm-hmm. I always say it's kind of like watching Subutio a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Because, like, especially throw-ins and shit, I'm always yelling at the TV saying, somebody fucking move.
Exactly.
And it's so basic. It's such basic stuff.
We've had problems with that for years. It's amazing.
I know. But I mean, even like looking at when Scotland, we're always going to play teams that are sitting back and everything, and he still tries to put 2 in the midfield up against usually 4 other midfield, like 3 central and a holding guy.
Right.
So, I mean, Scott Brown, I love Bruni, but he's not, exactly got a lot of guile and stuff, right? He's aggressive, he never stops running, but he's not necessarily going to find that tricky pass. And we've been saying that, you've been saying that on the show for years now, that we need that kind of number 10, and we're wondering if Johansson was going to be that guy, but I like Johansson, but he's not that type of player. He's in a kind of purple patch just now, mind you, for goals, but I still think there's something missing. On paper, it's a great appointment, but there just seems to be something not clicking, I think. I can't put my finger on what it is.
Yeah.
The team doesn't look overly motivated. Even when he talks to the media, I think he seems all right. I don't know if you saw on my Facebook, whatever, me and my mate Matthew met him when we were in Glasgow, and he's a nice man. His family took pictures for us and whatever, and it should work. Like, it has all the makings to be a great match, because it's totally different idea and modernising the approach and stuff. But like you said at the outset there, he didn't get anything like the support he needed.
Yeah.
Like we can't just build a team around loan signings and stuff unless it's like a top-notch, like Guidetti's an exception. Like, if you get a guy on loan, it's like Roberto Martinez said, like, why wouldn't I take Lukaku and Deulofeu on loan? If I can get a guy for a year who's going to make my team a lot better, absolutely. But guys like Tonev and stuff, why the hell are we getting them?
Yeah.
Like, what are they bringing?
Yeah. Yeah, the thing for me is, and I agree with a lot of what you're saying, and I quite rightfully, I get the sort of reputation like I'm Black Cloud, CSC, Dr. Death. I see the negatives and everything. I'll be honest with you. I was not a big Dial-Up fan up until maybe the past 3 to 4 weeks, and I'll tell you why. I'm starting to see a gradual shift towards pragmatism. That's what you talked about. You need to you can come in with ideals, and that's fine, but it needs to meld in with the system. Now, granted, I think, and a topic that I want to touch on next is, the real catalyst has been John Guidetti, and what he means to this team. And, we've had, and I've made this comparison on Twitter as well. We've had dangerous strikers, since Henrik Larsson left. We had Scott McDonald when he went through, just an absolute tear, where he's a poacher. Yep. He can find the back of the net. Gary Hooper, was absolutely clinical. It was exactly what we needed at the time. He paired up so well with Stokesy, in those runs where they were absolutely dynamic, and it was just a delight to watch. John Guidetti's different, and here's why. John Guidetti, he's got the strength and he's got the intelligence, but more important than that, he just does whatever needs done. With Hooper, so often he needed the game to come to him. I use the analogy of there's strikers out there that they need someone else to make the bullets for them to fire, and Hooper was one of those types of players. You saw him Go ahead.
So I was just going to say, one of the things about Hooper, the guy at the club always shouted, was any time he had a minute or a second, to think, he would fuck it up. Like, see, when Hooper acted on instinct, he was one of the best in Britain.
Yeah,
and should have been in the England team, really, with his record. But see, whenever he had a minute to think, you were like, no, he's going to miss. Like, the guy always used to shout, "Don't think, Hooper, for fuck's sakes."
Yeah, exactly. And it's it was the type of thing where Hooper would go through his dry runs, where just the chances weren't being created for him, and he tried to evolve his game where he was going to drop back deep a bit and play back to goal, and it just never came off. I think Lennon wanted to evolve his game somewhat, and I think it was at the cost of his sort of goal scoring acumen. I don't think he is that type of player. I don't think he's going to be that type of player. Unfortunately, he's the type of striker that's just going to wait on the back shoulder of the center half and just peel off and time his runs and get in behind and be able to put the ball in the back of the net with some calm, with some composure. Guidetti he completely transcends that. I mean, he can do that work, but he's so intelligent with just the runs that he makes to open up space for himself. He can drop back. He knows how to pick up fouls just outside the box, and his free kicks are outstanding. I mean, absolutely, just superb. He's so dynamic to watch, and it's become exciting to watch Celtic when you go to the club at 7 a.m. like you described, and like I do and so many here in America. It's exciting before the game because you never know what Guidetti's going to do, but you have faith that something exciting and great is about to happen. Like, you're watching to see what he can do, and that's something that, I mean, you just cannot put a price on.
No, I mean, the thing I love about Guidetti, and I've been saying this at the club now for a few weeks, is he's a match made in heaven for a club like Celtic. And I really think he loves it here. I know he's a character, he's really arrogant and stuff, and I like that. And I think he's just a match made in heaven for Celtic. And the guy, in terms of his playing style, but in terms of how we looked at him when he was playing well with Samaras, like, he wouldn't have fit in anywhere else. Anywhere else, they would have friggin' hated him.
Exactly.
But we appreciate guys that do great things when it really matters,
Yeah.
The difference with Guidetti is he's doing it constantly, consistently.
Every game.
And like you say, he's a big lad. I mean, he's so big in the chest. He's a big, strong boy, and he's got a good change of pace for a big guy, and he's so clever with the ball. Like you say, we've really missed that. We missed that guy that gets you excited to get up in the morning, but now we finally got him back,
If you're, let me ask you, what would you pay? Obviously, the big debate now, and the big sort of storyline, because, the board have come out and said, right, the loan strategy allows us to sort of see what we're getting before we pay, which to a certain extent on paper, I can see the logic in. Well, we've seen what we've gotten, and now it's time to pay. And the big storyline is, will Guidetti stay with Celtic in the future? Obviously, Guidetti's come out in the press and he said all the right things. He'd love to stay at a club as massive as Celtic, scoring the important goals and medals and so on. And I mean, I would love it if Larsson would have a word with them just to sort of reinforce that idea. I mean, Henrik Larsson is, just sort of the the gold standard of that sentiment. You can stay at a club like Celtic and become forever a legend. That's the opportunity. Whereas, if he were to go to, say, like Leicester or Hull next season and they pay him $50,000 a week, which is probably going to be much more than we could offer. I mean, what sort of legendary status is he going to have there? I mean, it'd be hard to imagine.
The long and the short of it, yeah.
And look at what's happened to Hooper, even Wanyama.